Okay, the recording has been started. So this BLAB is about sharing our favorite online job resources for creative people, and I'm here with Johnny from Mission and Personal, and I am Chris from Buzz Helix Media, and we have both been putting together our own kind of efforts to work with people on the creative process, and we're going to start interviewing artists on where they've come from, what they've done to become who they are, and also we're going to talk about social media and how to use social media as an artist to self-promote, which is key. Unless you have a real lot of money for other people to do it for you, that is really the thing that's going to make the difference. Yeah, you can play all you want in your in your basement or in your living room, but eventually you're going to have to just get it out there, and you want to do it in a way that's kind of right from the very beginning. So part of what I developed with Johnny is kind of a step-by-step process, beginning with picking a name, and also the ins and outs of how to turn yourself from a personal creative entity. So it's just somebody who's making stuff and selling it. And you can do that to a certain amount on the state level, on the federal level, without having to get things like an EIN or a business bank account or things of that nature to really become a taxable entity. So where are those lines? There are a bunch of different lines. They're different by state, and there's also some federal ones. And one of the things that I learned in studying forming a creative business entity is being able to choose a name that you can start off with, so that you don't have to stop midstream down the line. In the world of social media, it basically amounts to a rebranding, because if you start using your name and it turns out down the line you really can't end up using your name, because either somebody's using it, which is surprising, but it definitely happens, or you check into what I call your Google neighbors, which is Google your name and see what else comes up, because you want to make sure that that's, first of all, not something super offensive and weird to people. Second, you don't want to make sure there could be another painter out there that has your same name.
Offensive.
So, well, you never know.
You don't want to be super offensive and weird. That's good info.
I mean, that could be your thing, actually. So who knows? But at the end of the day,
it's a niche.
It's a niche. Yeah, I'm the super offensive and weird niche. So at the end of the day, you really want to have something unique, and there's a second part of it. There's Google neighbors, which is the people that come up when you Google your name, or you can come up with. There's also the .com. So and there's an argument against the .com, where you can say kind of like who cares? You don't need to own the .com. And my kind of counter argument to that is basically you could get something else like a .me or .net or there's a bunch of them out there, .guru if you want. But if someone buys that .com, like if they buy yourname.com, they're going to own that, and you don't want that. You don't want somebody controlling the .com, because com is for commercial. It's for commerce. It's basically going to be, again, you stepping from being a personal creative entity, which is kind of do whatever you want, and you don't have to file taxes on anything you sell or anything like that, which is fine. That can go on for a very long time. But if you're getting into the world of social media and starting something like a blog, or starting an e-commerce site where you're making any kind of money and you have some sales goals and you actually want to grow, there's going to come a point where it's going to become very real. And if that's under your name, okay. But all I'm saying, really, in this guide that I'm developing, again, this is just the first part of the guide, but all I'm saying really is to think ahead. if you're going to use your name, make sure you research that. If not, then there's a whole other set of choices to make that come into play as far as picking a name. And obviously, it's a very important decision, and it's something you're going to stick with, and something you're going to use for marketing yourself on social media and in any possible way. So these choices are at the very beginning. You want to make them up front. So you don't have to switch gears later, because that could be very, very difficult. And you might as well just do it right up front. So with Johnny, he did some soul searching and wrote up a couple of things and came up with mission and personal. And that has to do with, really is the way I understand it, is creativity, and how that has to do with kind of like a stoic philosophy, which I personally find very interesting, because I think it is applicable, and I think it has a lot to do with what you're going to face as an artist, a creative person, because people are going to criticize you, and they're going to try to mess with you, and they're going to try to tell you that you can't do the things that you know that are in your heart, and the things that you have to really follow. And
Right.
to be able to shake that off is a skill set that, you know, is valuable to
And to have a
most creators.
community around you that helps you shake it off. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
That's
And
a big
I think that exact thing there too is also why it's important to find ways to make money, even if it's not a lot, from whatever your craft is. Graphic design, photography, writing, even painting to an extent. There are a lot of sites that actually you can set it up so that the site will make a print of your painting, and they will rent that print out to people. It's insane. It's a true thing. There was this one I knew about in Boston. I don't think they're around anymore, but they were called Turning Art, and it was basically marketed to.
Wouldn't be able to do mine.
You know, well, you never know, man. If you could get a high quality, because Johnny says that because his art is kind of thick paint, and it's really slathered on there, and it's almost like a.
It comes off. It's like, yeah, it's almost 3D, not like
it's almost 3D. It's almost like
off the page.
Textile experience.
They would need a 3D printer.
Right. Well, but that's not what it's about. It's more about they would take a really high res shot of the painting, and the shadows would be in there. And it would be something, you know.
So they can still do it. I got you.
They could still do it, but it wouldn't. Again, the person.
It wouldn't be like a print, you know what I mean? Like of a flat painting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, it wouldn't be the same. I understand. They just had they had multiple options, and I thought it was a really interesting idea. And there's other companies that are still doing it, because if somebody likes the print in their house, really likes it, then they're going to be like, hey, can I get the original of this? And that's when they're going to contact you, and that's when you sell a $3,500 piece of art.
$5,000.
Exactly. And that's totally fine with a lot of people. There's a huge market for that.
Right.
You know? Seriously.
Right.
You know, it's a real thing. So now that I've kind of given a little of the background, and again, we're recording this, so we're going to post it to YouTube and just kind of keep on moving forward.
But yeah,
I'm going to say
you can see how awkward we are at the beginning, and hopefully we improve as the shows go on.
I think we're always improving, for sure. It's always going to be something new.
No, but that's the point of like recording these ones, even the ones at the beginning where we have ideas and not really formats yet. You know what I mean?
Right. And
it's good for like seeing how we change. So like if someone's trying to start a show or anything like that, you can watch and see the steps. You know, you don't get there in a day.
I like that too. Absolutely.
Yeah. Go on.
So Johnny, I don't know if you want to follow along, or if you can follow along, even on your phone. Maybe look at some of these things just so you're following along with the kind of conversation as far as the links that I'm going to bring up. But the first one that comes up, well, there's actually two that come up quite a bit. One is called Talent Zoo. It's a job board for creatives. And I'll read the description here. Talent Zoo has almost 80,000 job listings posted by agencies, recruiters, corporate organizations, and startups. Choose to search for advertising jobs, marketing jobs, design and creative jobs, or geek and web jobs, and use the advanced search function to get down to the details. As a bonus, you'll find career advice blogs and articles and a place to post your resume and portfolio. So that's Talent Zoo. And they came up in 3 different lists that I found online, all recommending them as one of the best.
Hey, he's asking if you have products.
I personally do social media work, and right now I'm developing a system that is going to basically be structured around providing social media services to creative people in exchange for creative services. So I think that's something that I haven't seen before, and I think it's something that kind of fits with me where I'm at, because I do social media for small businesses. Right now it's only 2, going to be 3 small businesses. But what I mean by exchange is, let's say you want a 30-minute consultation on all of your branding and all of your social media and what you're doing now. I can do that in exchange for something like $50 worth of whatever it is you do. You're a writer, then I will do it for $50. It'd probably be something like, I don't know, 500. I would do it for like 500 words, or depending on the content, but maybe 2 500-word blog posts or 2 500-word articles, something along those lines. Also, photographers, they charge a pretty penny, but to have really good photos that I can use and I don't have to pay some random person on Shutterstock, it's all about networking. And I don't want to just go to one of those places and just get this random artwork from somebody I don't know. I think we're entering a time where it does matter who it's coming from, and it does matter where that money is going, for a bunch of different reasons. Maybe we can talk about that and other blabs, but I think it's absolutely where things are headed is, who do you know and what can you trade? Because money is awesome. Everybody loves money. It's an easy exchange. But I think there are other ways that we can help each other. And the end goal for both paths is money in both of those scenarios. For instance, if I was to take some writing or photography in exchange for that, I would be linking that person. And if this social media client that I'm doing, we use that content for that, and somebody sees it and likes it and goes to your website or whatever you have on social media, they're going to potentially work with you because of that. For me, I obviously have the social media client, which is a source of income for me. And I was able to get that writing basically in exchange, as I said, without having to pay for it. So I'm either saving my client money, or the client is paying me and I am getting writing for that basically. So either way it works. I think that's a very basic model. There are other models where I have a whole social media tools list that I'm developing for creative people right now. And that is up to about 60 different tools. That's not to say that everybody's going to use 60 tools to run social media. What it is a bunch of different categories of tools. And some of them are better for some people than others. And it kind of depends also on what you like. There's a preference aspect to it. So that can be very confusing and overwhelming, as Johnny can attest, because lately he's been kind of freaking out about it. And honestly, that's why I started it, because me and Johnny have started from ground zero, and he's really had nothing on social media except maybe a private Facebook, Johnny, like a personal one. So he's a stay-at-home dad and looking to start sort of like a podcast situation where we can talk to creative people. And Johnny, even though I'm talking a lot in this particular blab, Johnny is a really inspiring person, especially with creative people. And he has a lot of experience that when you hear him talk about it, it can be really inspirational. And he has more experience, especially in music, right, than a lot of people know. And he also has broadcast experience. So he's got a lot going on up in that head. And I think he's going to help a lot of people. And I'm glad to be working with him to do it. So So I think we'll.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, I think we'll do really, really well together. But the point is, there's a,
But we're kind of doing an exchange. It's no formal
right.
exchange, but
It's a perfect
like
example.
stuff like right now, yeah, it's kind of a good
That's an
example. Like
example.
you had an idea to do something, and because when I have ideas, you back me up. I'm like, yeah, I'll come on, and I might not know what the topic is, but I can help with the show. I can read the sidebar, but that's a perfect example of what you're saying, because it doesn't even have to be like we didn't sit down and say we were going to do that. I just was like, that's what you do.
Yeah, it's
when he's helped me out before, now I help him out, and what's great is you get it, your circle gets bigger, and down the road it will equal money, because you're more well known, the more people and the more the bigger your circle.
Absolutely, and it's a perfect kind of hybrid economy with social media and creatives, because the need for what most of the industry refers to as content never ends. It really it's never ending, and there's kind of a content war going, where it's just like one company posts three videos or 3 blogs, and their competitor is going to do then 4, and then they have to do 5, and then it's back and forth. But I don't think it's going to stay like that. I think it's going to turn more towards quality than quantity, and that's where people who are good are going to stand out.
Right, and so he's asking about if he had a great novel, I think, that he wrote, what can you do? I mean, do you mean as far as with social media, or?
So basically he's saying, what if he has a novel that he wrote about a rock band in the future?
What do you have to understand, though, at first, before you answer, sorry, is that we're building a community right now. So it's not like if you have that novel right now, it's not like we'd be able to put it up anywhere, and it's going to be, this is like something that we just started building. And I just want to say that before, like, think,
right. And there's,
if that's what you mean, like, what will we do? Take it and put it, somewhere specific, and it would go.
I see what you're. I see what you're
if it's a really good novel, and it really is, the more it gets spread out there, the bigger your circle, of course, that's going to help. But right now, our circle is not that big. BLAB is like so young, but more people are joining every day, so the circle is just growing.
Well,
and that's the point, is we're showing that you can start from zero. I mean, we already have a little bit of a network on these things already. We've been only on BLAB for like 30 days or whatever, so you can keep going. I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I think the thing to keep in mind, Dragon, is if you have that novel and it's something you put a lot of work into, a lot of time into, that's great. It means you're a writer, right? But it also means you can write other things. So that novel might be what you want to sell eventually, and you want to create what they call a funnel. I'm not sure how familiar you are with sales or marketing or anything, but it's what's referred to as a funnel. And at the end, it's called a funnel because it's kind of like you attract people at what they call the top of the funnel, and they come in. So if they hear about you through something, now they're in your funnel. And basically the idea is they get closer and closer to the end of the funnel, to the bottom of the funnel, where they essentially, it's what's called converting. So the conversion is that person would buy your book. And that's the conversion that you're looking for. So what you want to do is develop a process that kind of fosters that and kind of leads them toward that purchase of your book. And that might be that you start a blog, and that the blog is sort of separated into some ideas that are from the book. For instance, you may have a chapter about, in your book, if you've got a rock band in the future, I would imagine it's not pure fiction or fantasy. There's probably some points you're trying to make with that book. And that's just my guess. I'm just throwing it out there. But if you have some points that you want to kind of highlight, you may want to expand on those points.
But even how about a smaller scale example of how we take this and put it on YouTube? I mean, that's kind of that funnel effect of, what's your show about? And like, you could just say, well, go on YouTube and look, and you can watch one. You know what I mean? And now someone will be like, oh, cool, and they just go right on. It's so convenient. You go on YouTube, watch one. Next thing you know, maybe they join BLAB, and now maybe they're watching what you're doing. You know what I mean? That's like the same thing, except on a different, just like a little smaller scale of that funnel. You know what I mean?
So I'm reading just what you're saying on the side there, Dragon, about he's saying that he knows about campaigns, and he believes that what he can sell is more in a real situation. If a reporter and you get into the news, and okay, that is one version of reality that's happened in our recent and not so recent past, but we don't so much live in that world as much anymore. It's more controlled by forces that we don't have power over.
Right. I mean, well, if you're getting on the news, someone's.
It's still, if you're going to end up there, to be honest, you're going to start here. You're going to start on the internet, and someone's going to catch wind of it. So that's connected. You see, so you have control over what's going on. And I know that it's a little bit overwhelming. It's a little bit overwhelming to think about all the different things you could do online, but that's kind of what my point is. That's kind of what the guides that I'm developing are all about. It's really about making step by step and making it so that, you know what, let's take all this social media stuff and just ignore it completely, because all you're focused on is like writing a book. It's like, you know what, maybe just ignore YouTube completely, stuff like that, or just a whole bunch of tools you don't even need to use, because there's a certain market that you're trying to focus on, and that market doesn't use those tools. You got to understand who your audience is. Who are the people?
And like, if you think of it, think of it like back in the day when you were writing. You know how many people were trying to get their book read and couldn't, and there was probably great books that never got published because they couldn't just get like one person. Now with the internet, you write that book, you can get that book in front of anyone for like free.
Amazon.
So there's no excuse. There's no excuse for not writing that book, but then trying to use it, saying, oh, no one will read it anymore. Well, there's the internet, so yes, guess what? There'll be people that will read it.
Amazon.
So that's an excuse if you say, if you ever don't write something because you don't think, oh, no one's going to read it. Well, first of all, you probably shouldn't be writing something if you're only writing it to make someone else happy. You know what I mean? But whatever.
Right. So,
but
Amazon is a huge resource for writers, because you don't need a publisher. You can upload the book directly to them. I think it costs
but for years, like, writers could complain and say, no, they don't have readers. And now it's like, well, with the internet, that's like almost impossible. Someone out there will be interested in something. You know what I mean? You could find someone to read your stuff.
But let me ask you this,
guarantee.
Dragon, if you had to say who your audience was that you'd be selling this book to, and I could guess at a few, but if you had to say who your audience was that would be buying this book, because there's going to be a certain audience that's going to be interested in sort of a sci-fi, rock band in the future novel. Once
in a while, there's these crazy stories that for some reason, like, that could be one. But you don't know. You don't know.
But I'm saying right off the bat, who would you say is your audience? Do you have an idea of who your audience is that you're looking to sell to?
Right, you're looking for someone that's like into time travel and stuff. You know what I mean? For that story, you'd be looking for probably sci-fi guys. Is that what time travel falls under? I guess. You know what I mean? Yeah, for this story, we're just using this story as an example.
Students.
Like,
what kind of?
Yes.
So like college students, or because 15 to 25. Okay, that's a good start. To 35, and where would they go on the internet, do you think?
Yeah, exactly. Now there's the key.
What kind of places would that? Well, that's kind of a large one. You're saying 15 to 45. That may or may not be true. I don't know. But what I would do is look at other books that are in that same category and find out where their audience is. What does their audience do? Are they on forums? You're saying festivals, so comedy shows. So do they go to festivals and comedy shows? Find out other books that are being kind of promoted in that same way. So what I'm saying is it's quantifiable. You can test this before even having to invest a single dime in anything. Yeah. It's something you can quantify because somebody has already written something that is in your category and it is already performed or not performed. There's data on it. And you can go find that right on Amazon. And you could even...
And this is where my creative part comes in and says, so you just whatever it is that you're trying to get out there, you go and make it because there's a way to get it out. And then you listen to this guy and he tells you how to get it out. So make that thing that you believe in. And then you talk to someone like Chris here and he shows you where to show it. And then now all of a sudden there's more impact behind what you've made because he knows who wants to see it.
Right.
Or he can help figure out who wants to see it.
It's confusing and it is overwhelming to think, okay, out of the whole internet, I have to find the people who are into exactly what I'm writing about, but they're out there, I promise you, and they're not that hard to find. You just have to sit and really figure out the kind of books.
And trying to find it, us trying to find it helps us figure out how to find it for ourselves.
Yeah, we're always going to get better.
You know what I mean?
And I mean, I've already...
Exactly. And then so when people are skeptic and say, well, why would you just help me? It's like, because even helping you do that is going to help us more. Because when people ask you, how'd you figure that out? And you're going to say, look at these guys, they'll help you figure it out. Boom.
Pretty much.
Nothing's better than that. There's no commercial you could ever pay for that's better than that. That would make people work with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I love the process. I do. I mean, I'm not like your average musician writer. I have a...
Yeah, you're definitely below average musician.
I agree. I have a strong...
I agree.
A strong drive to handle the business side of it.
That's why it's so tragic, because he really wants to be good. He has a strong drive, but it just doesn't not working out.
Inside the book. Right. Well, you know what, Dragon, a lot of people say that kind of stuff, and that's, that can happen, man. Yeah, he's saying that he needs a team. And I know...
Yeah, well, that's another thing.
It's simply not true. I'm going to tell you right now, you don't need a team, man. You'd be amazed at the type of things that you can do just by yourself, and you can start super small and make a huge impact. I promise you. Right. It just takes a little bit. It just takes a little bit of learning about what the tools are available. Like I said, there are 60 tools that I came up with in probably a half an hour of just sitting and kind of reviewing the notes that I've made. It's really, really possible. You don't even need a team, and you don't even have to spend money. I promise you. That's why I love this so much. That's why I'm so inspired by it, because we're living in a time right now that the creative professional, or not even amateur.
Well, I use this as an example all the time now for basically for what the internet's like right now for musicians is when Dave Matthews just decided to give out all his first tape or whatever, that he recorded. Just give it out for free, give it out to everyone and give it out. And then the next time when he finally went to sell one, they had already listened to all the stuff for free, but they're going to buy the album. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
what this is. It's like, you know what I mean? You're writing for this. Maybe it's for free. Like technically you're not getting paid for that hour of work, but you're setting yourself up. You know what I mean? And that's what Dave Matthews did. But that's what the internet, you can do that. That's what we're trying to show people. Yeah.
And another point that Dragon was just bringing up is that it seems, you're saying it is endless, but it really just seems endless because it's not about finding an end. There is no end. There's just always going to be promoting. I think a great kind of peak to reach is to the point where what you're talking about, if you're so successful that your time is more worth spending on your writing than it is doing this stuff, then yes, you outsource it to a team. Absolutely. And that's what everybody does. But right now, the reality is that's not where you're at, unless you've inherited a great deal of money. And I don't know, maybe you have, but I haven't, and I don't plan on that happening. I don't see it.
But the beauty of the age right now is you don't need
it. It's in your power completely. And if you're going to spend time on the internet pushing through social media, it's really just about sticking with one or two networks that you really like using, that you connect with people on, that works for your medium and for your audience, and where your audience actually does hang out, and being consistent. And that's it. And just really be consistent. If you say you're going to be going on there, in the mornings, go on in the mornings, and just do it and just stick with it. Just do one thing, even if it's one night a week. If you say, you know what, Monday nights, I'm going to jump on social media and I'm going to put one page of my book up on Instagram or something. I don't know. I'm making it up. You could do just about anything, or you could do a video if you're the type of video person. Some people aren't video people, and that's fine too. But let's say you were. You could read a chapter of your book on video and get a decent microphone, set up a cool background that's weird and has something to do with your audience, that your audience is going to be like, well, look at this guy. And they listen, they're like, I really like this book. I want to know more. And you could get someone in the comments section, and then all of a sudden that leads to 3 and 5 and 10 people that never would have happened. Sure, it's not, huge novel success, but dude, you've got to take small steps. I mean, this is what we have.
Starting to build an audience
at our disposal. That the whole kind of
you couldn't do this before. Like, you'd have to send it out to people, and like it wouldn't even have worked. And now it's like so easy, and people are just.
I don't want to say that
so many.
I don't want to say the fantasy of hitting it big with writing doesn't exist anymore. But I'll tell you what.
No, it does, but like also the guys that do hit it big, you think it's their like first book or the one book, like those guys have been at it forever. You know what I mean? And like, so you can't get discouraged either when this book goes out and you think it's the greatest. Like, your audience might not receive it that way, and you write something that you don't even think is as good as that, but they like that better. They're gonna decide, but you can't just like put all your eggs in one book either and be like, oh, if I follow these steps. You got to really try.
Man, writing is a powerful tool. You can use it for a lot of different things. So, and what the flip side of what you're saying too is that it is with more people who are able to write and publish now. It is very much, it is very much in a way easier to just self-publish. It's fine. A lot of people can do it. So there's more competition. However, it is also easier for one person to make a 30 or 50,000 follower situation happen for their book. And you know what? Maybe you don't take over the world with your writing, but you can make a living off of it in ways that nobody ever could before. It was not.
You need like 1,000 serious fans or whatever.
It's 1,000 true fans. It's a book,
and that's with the internet, audience. You should be able to find that, even if your stuff's not that good. Like, it's 1,000 no matter people what, out of the internet's not that crazy.
No matter what, you can do it. But yeah. what it really comes down to is knowing that you have the opportunity that people didn't have 5 or even, I should say 10 or even 5 years ago, because Amazon is the tool that you should use for writing. And there are some really great things that I can refer you to. And one of them is Tim Ferriss, because Tim Ferriss really hacks the writing process, as in he finds the shortcuts that are legitimate. Well, he's saying 5 years was easier. I don't know if you're talking about the actual publishing world, because in general, because there's publishing and there's self-publishing, so you can't really speak in general because those two things are very different. If you're talking about being published by, Simon and Schuster or whatever, like getting picked up by a publisher, you can get published, but it's a ton of work, and it's always been that way. It still is that way. But we have the ability now to kind of jump over that whole process with self-publishing, and you have complete control over that. And there are people who have written and released books who are massively successful. I mean, just New York Times bestsellers. If you look at those books, you'll find self-publishers in there. They don't have publishers. They turned them down because in the first year they released their book and it was good enough and sold enough copies that it literally overshadowed the book advance that they were offered. And you're talking $250,000, you know, and then from that point on, they own everything. So they're going forward.
Right. So you have to go and put your stuff out there, you know, and that's exactly getting back to what I was saying. There's no excuse unless, you know, and that's the scary part is some people don't want to know that there's a place to put it because they'd rather have the excuse because then they could just say it's something that they kind of mess around with.
Point. Like, that has a lot to do with the creative process too, which is definitely, we could do a whole blab just on what you just said.
Man, if you're gonna do something, like go and do it. Like if you're gonna, that's what I'm thinking. Like with my music now, like I'm gonna put it out here and I'm gonna try to push it through social media where I never did before.
And it's not easy to figure out who your audience is because you can think you got it.
Yeah, but who cares about easy? You know what I mean?
No,
you just keep showing up. You keep showing up. You'll find it. They'll find you.
You got to kind of push through, and especially with
if you really believe that you're compelling or whatever you're going to add is compelling, and you keep grinding it out and you keep doing it, you'll get a following, and it'll be a pretty good one probably. You know, as long as unless you just like have nothing to bring.
So this is all good stuff. What I want to do, we got about 15 or 20 minutes left. So what I want to do is kind of go through a couple more of the resources because there are some good ones on here, and I at least want to get them recorded on the video while we still have time. So the first one I mentioned was Talent Zoo. I highly recommend that one because it came up on multiple lists. The second one is something called Crop, Krop. And that one has also been around for a long time. I think 2005 or something. I'll check on the other list to find the date. It's another creative job board. People like Facebook, Nike, MTV, Forbes, Apple, they use Crop. So your work could get picked up by them. And again, you're talking about graphic design, photography, writing, whatever you want to come up with that you think is something that can be relevant in the market that you can post that somebody will pick up. So the next one after that is called Coroflot, Coroflot. It looks like listings for creative professionals in all fields. Again, another heavy hitter as far as the names go. Nokia, Nike, Intel, Sony, they all need content. And again, they're not. Some of them will have some in-house content generator people, and by that I mean writers and graphic designers and things of that nature, and that's fine, but they still are going to go looking for stuff, and even those people are going to go looking for stuff because it's just that kind of market. The next one was a big one that came up first on the other lists, I think. It's called Authentic Jobs. That one came up a whole bunch. Another Estee Lauder, ESPN, HBO. So you know these are big names. They're not going to be paying peanuts, and they're not going to be buying crap either. So you do need to put it out there. But it's something to strive toward, and it's also some way to look at how your stuff stacks up against other professional stuff. And there should be a competitive nature in some of this stuff. I think that's valid.
Well, yeah, that's what pushes the. You're hoping that the good stuff gets out there, isn't that? That's kind of like the whole theory is
self-regulate.
Put it all out there. Everyone gets the fair chance to try to put it out there, and then what people love. I mean, they're going to choose. You can't complain if your stuff doesn't take off because that's just because people just sometimes like I'll do my music. It either happens or it doesn't, but it doesn't mean that sometimes it's what you're putting out there. But people, either listening or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Like, so now if you do put it out there, you can't have that fear of it, whatever that is, because you have to. It's going to be there. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people that'll see.
There's always going to be somebody who's into something. It's just all, where does it fit? Knowing where it fits is really an important part of social media. So.
And narrowing down that, to find those people that you need to come across.
Right.
So it's like it's really about like getting yourself better odds.
And that comes down to the other stuff that we're going to be on here talking about. To be honest, you're talking about self-promotion and you're talking about creative process. Those are the things that we're going to be basically doing labs on. So
Right, and that's why this keeps getting my attention, because those are my biggest things. Not creating because of, oh, no one will see it. It's like kind of like treating like a show where like, oh, only 2 people are gonna be there, so you're not gonna play as well. Like, does it even? It doesn't matter. If like that's what you love to do, you should be playing it as well as you can every time you play, whether there's 1 person, no person, or 1 million people. And that's why this gets me all fired up.
Right. So the next one is pretty. The next one is pretty popular.
Right.
Well, I want to get through the rest.
Thanks for that.
Hey, there's only a few left. Let me just get through this.
Right.
I totally agree.
He wants to be an interviewer, but he just doesn't care what anyone says.
Yeah, whatever you say. No, Johnny, like I told you before, we could do whole blabs on what you just said. Like we could do a whole.
I know. We probably will.
And we will, but I just want to get through this list because
get through it. Go. Keep going.
So the next one
would it be easier if I go now?
No, stay, please. I want you to hear this too. I would love it if you look them up, but that's okay if you don't, because this is amazing stuff. You should know about this too. Behance, which is a pretty popular one that most artists know about. Behance, you can have your own profile, and it's really big with photographers, because I know some photographers who use it. But it's the things you can do on that side are really cool. I really highly recommend Behance. The next one is called Smashing Jobs, and there's some differences between these. And there are three kind of top articles that will come up if you type in job boards for creatives into Google, which I just recommend you just doing if you're watching this and you
just on a daily basis,
Well, maybe not daily, because this article was written last January, so I mean it doesn't happen that often. But what I would say you check every day is,
can you put it in there for him? Type that in there for him, would you?
These links.
Get him.
Here's what I'm going to do.
Man. Put together a packet. Put some staples on it.
Man. Shoot.
Put it onto the fax machine.
Let me explain just briefly what
you're sending them out. He's getting them in. Or you could just give him the link.
Let me just explain. I'll put Behance in here. It's called Behance. But let me just explain briefly.
Very much against doing this. This is against his rules.
No, it's not rules. It's just listen. Hear me out. This is going on.
He doesn't like when I make fun of his particulars.
This is going on YouTube after this, okay? And on YouTube is where we're going to put all these links.
And they're gonna love my comedy that I injected into your show.
Well, I sure hope so. God knows I love it, Johnny. but
why I get paid the big bucks.
But listen, I mean, from a social media perspective, when we put all those links in our YouTube video, there's things called backlinks on the internet, and what we want is for these websites to see that they're getting linked from our YouTube video. That's helpful for us through Google. It's just a good thing. So, I mean, ultimately, I'm not going to do anything that goes against social media rules. I'm just not gonna. But let me just say though, this is going to. It's just really.
Well, we're going to be breaking some rules, though.
I mean, rules are always going to get broken. But let me just.
Most of the nudity rules broken.
Let me just try to stay. Okay, because this is going to go on YouTube, and then all the links will be there, and you can rewatch for the things that we do too. When
are you going to get it up on YouTube?
Right away, if it lets me. BLAB is kind of.
What else did you have?
BLAB is kind of picky about putting stuff up. It seems like, but what
are you talking about?
Well, when I tried to upload 2 videos and they didn't get published, and then all of a sudden one of them did. So I think that it's either on my end or it's something going on.
Yeah, dude, because mine go up nice and easy.
I didn't see yours until today, though, the one from Thursday.
Yeah, because I didn't put it up until...
It goes up automatically. You just click the button. And I clicked the button on that for my page, and it didn't go up. So...
Because it wasn't your BLAB.
It's okay. No, you still can do it.
No, you can't steal my BLAB, man.
Okay, so number 7 is Smashing Jobs. I said that. I think number 8 is the Creative Group. Number 9 is Creative Hot List, which came up on a bunch of other ones too. And I'm just going to, real quick, I'm going back to the first one because the first one was really good. It comes up, it's by Mashable.com, and there's 13 different job listing boards on this Mashable article. And again, number 1 on this was authentic jobs. I just want to quickly go through because they have a couple that I didn't mention yet. Number 2 is a website called It's Nice That. It's Nice That is very popular, and I think this article is a little newer, so I highly recommend that. Again, I'm going to stick all of these links on the YouTube video in the info because there really isn't an opportunity to do that on Blab, short of doing it all on the side. But the comments from the side, they don't go with the YouTube video. They won't upload to YouTube. So that's another reason we're doing it this way.
What are you talking about?
When we upload this video to YouTube, it doesn't take the comments with it from the side, the conversation.
I thought it did.
Mm-mm. Doesn't. So it's just us on video.
Oh no, but if you go on Blab, you can see it.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't really want people doing replays on Blab. It doesn't really help anything, except for the Blab network, personally.
Right.
So
why doesn't it help any? It should at some point.
At some point, it probably will, but there's no data that Google sees, at least that I know about. And this is still brand new. Blab is still in beta. I just really like the format because we can have a chat. People can jump into the seat if we.
No, I get that. I get that. We don't have to. You always get so upset and think that I'm going to try to ditch the YouTube.
I'm not upset.
Oh boy! Don't.
I'm not upset.
We're not ditching YouTube. Don't worry.
I just want you to understand that.
Oh, I know you do. I understand.
All right.
You tell me every day.
Okay, so the next one is Behance. We can skip that. Oh, here's a good one. This one's called Dribble Jobs, and I think it has 3 B's. DRIBBBLE. This one sounds really cool. I highly recommend checking this one out. It seems like there's a bunch of different things. Some of these are really unique networks. There's another one called We Work Remotely, which isn't just for creatives, but it's based around obviously remote jobs. That one's on the list. Crop comes up, so that's number 6 on this list. It's again KROP, but that's on all three lists that I reviewed and kind of researched. And I've been doing this for a while, but I kind of zoned in on a few of the most popular lists that were out online. And then Coroflot, COROFLOT. That one came up again, so that was on the other list. And then AIGA, I don't know, but that's the one that's been around since 1914.
On the internet?
Not on the internet, but it targets professional. It's a professional, like, creative membership organization, that type of thing.
Not on the internet.
No, they weren't able to get online back then.
Did you know that George Washington Carver invented the peanut?
I don't. That doesn't sound true. I don't know. Okay, so number 9 is Sensational Jobs. I don't think this one was on there. Sensational Jobs.
That doesn't sound true.
This one I really love. Okay, this one's one of the best. See, this is why I wanted to go through this list, because this list has items on here that weren't on the other one. There weren't on the other one. This one's called. It's spelled like Design Jobs, but it's like DSGNJBS. So it's Design Jobs. And basically the reason I like this one is it's actually like.
Who do you work for? Design Jobs.
I like this one because it's like a directory for all the other ones. So it's already getting.
Oh my gosh! Here we go. Here goes the loop again.
It's already.
You like it because it's got more folders inside menus.
Well, yeah, it's what they call meta, and this is like it's even more meta because now we're talking about this directory of job boards. So it's really like ultra meta, which is all the cool kids are into that. You're gonna have to.
He wants to hire you here.
You're gonna have to. I like that. Thank you, Dragon. I'm glad you like our idea. I haven't quite finished all the packages yet. I'm trying to get them together.
Hurry up already.
BuzzHelix.com. You can go check that out. Once they're up, they will be there. You can sign up for my my newsletter there that'll keep people informed, or just keep meeting us on here until it becomes something where you have time to.
Yeah, and the best part about this, the next time you see, if you want to see if this stuff works, the next time you see us, if we have more followers and more of a scene than the last time, you can tell it's working. So then you can say, hey, I'm not wasting my time. It's working. So.
Right. Yeah, that's the whole idea, I guess, is that,
or better, or we won't be here.
Yeah, if we make it work for us, then we can make it work for other people.
Right.
And I think that's absolutely going to happen. But even if it doesn't, these concepts are industry concepts. I mean, I've been training on this for a very long time, and I've been working professionally for almost a year doing it. So it's.
I mean, I feel like it's been working so far.
Sure, and it's consistency, and it's really just.
It's a grind in the beginning when you're not seeing like huge numbers, like, you know, but then you look back and you say, hey, well, you know, whatever, if you get 60 people following, I think I have 100 now following me on BLAB.
Wow.
I mean, that's 30 days. So
yeah, that's pretty good.
You know, so you gotta realize the small little victories that you get when you're going. Cause like, I'm like, I don't really have many, and all of a sudden I get 100. Well, you know, that's a big number if you look at it in a month.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's 100 people. That's 100 people that followed me that didn't even know who I was.
Right, and you haven't even posted anything on your website or anything. Like, we haven't really been driving anybody to your writing or your paintings or your music or anything like that. And I haven't either.
Like that. So that's a whole other thing. And once I get my music recorded too, like
it's really going to make a big difference.
Yeah, so it'll be awesome, and then people can see, you know, all the stuff. You know, it's more evidence that I'm not just talking out of my butt over here, you know, in my basement.
Right, and I don't think it'll ever be that, man, honestly.
Yeah, well, it better not, all right?
No.
Because if it is, then I'm out of here.
So I'll do I'm going to do the last couple ones here, the last 2 or 3. SourceForge jobs.
More, dude?
There's only a couple more.
SourceForge jobs, dude.
Okay. So it's like another community for creative jobs. 3.4 million active developers. You know, this is the Mashable article. I recommend just go looking it up, Google it, and you'll be able to go through these and find the details. I just wanted to briefly cover them on here and see if anybody else wanted to jump on with us or had some that they wanted to share that had worked well for them. We didn't get a ton of people come through the room tonight, but I'm glad we got to speak with Dragon and get some insight into that, and hopefully provide him with a little guidance, because that's what we're here ultimately to do. Tonight is just kind of because I've been digging into these online job boards so hard for creatives and sort of starting to build my own. So I was curious about what other people had experienced. Number 12 one's just called Design Job Boards. It's just like I don't know. It's not really a name. It's just what it is.
12 is so cool. It doesn't even have a name.
And so number 13, this is the last one that I'll list, is just Creative.
It's the most mysterious platform in the world,
or the least mysterious, because it says exactly what it is. So Creative Hot List. Creative Hot List was on the other list that we already did, which was a list of 9, and that was a really good list too. But this Mashable article has really good details as far as how long the company's been around, how many users are on it. I highly recommend that. So we're just pretty much coming up on an hour, Johnny. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to throw in. There's a couple other people in the room with us here, but other than the list that I just went through and the great conversations that we had about building audience with Dragon earlier, is there anything you wanted to add to that as far as people getting paid as musicians, maybe some online things you've seen?
I think, like I've been saying, your whole focus should be on what you're creating, and then know who to go to get it out there. But if you're not creating some top-notch stuff, like, you're going to go through all this work. Like, the most important thing to you, no matter how much of this technology, should be the original thing that you're trying to create. That's all I would say.
I like that.
Which is not to say what you're saying isn't important. I'm just saying you always got to focus on that, because then what's the point of putting something out if you're not even focused on the original thing that you're trying to get out there? You know what I mean? So if you're making a movie, or if you're making a paint, you want to do it the best, you know what I mean, possible way that you can.
Which would drive you crazy as a creative person, right?
Well,
Nothing like
yeah,
being a professional.
but that's like, but isn't that why? But isn't that like what you're trying to do? Is you're trying to
It's true though.
show this creative thing that you can do differently than everyone, but no one's watching yet, and that's why
Yeah.
the internet's so great. Is because now people might be watching you, so now it's time to put your money where your mouth is. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you know, so okay, I can't complain that no one's watching if I have the internet. So this is either going to work for me or not. And I mean, I guess that's scary, but like, oh well, if it doesn't work, what? Am I going to disappear? Like, is my basement still going to be here? I can still come down here and talk to myself. I don't know. You know what I mean?
In that same way, you could go to like a art show or some sort of expo and set up a booth and have nobody buy something or even talk to you. You know,
Right.
it's just risky. So it's you know what, like you said, put your best foot forward. Come up with whatever you got. Even some of the stuff that you have that might not be your best stuff, you don't know. I mean, a lot of people who publish or work or put out works, they're like, "This is crap,"
Right.
and it'll
That's
be
what
the
I
thing
was
that
saying. Yeah.
it'll be the thing that sells the best.
Right.
You never
Exactly.
know.
That's the
Never
point.
know.
That's kind of what I was saying earlier. Yeah.
I know writers and poets put out, they're like, "Oh my god, this is the best poem. This is the best article I've ever written." They put it out there, crickets, nothing, and they just like publish something that they wrote while they were like,
Right. Well, think about it. Sometimes you hear a song and then you play it for someone else, and to you it's the greatest song ever, and then they don't give you the reaction that you would think, and you're just it's the same thing except
Do you
one
know
thing
what I
you're
just
making.
played for you?
And they're just like they don't get it. You know what I mean? So sometimes people just don't get it, and that's fine too. But there's no, just don't let it make you not do it. Like, oh no, what if people don't get it? Who cares? You know what I mean? Because that's what stops the creating of the doubts of, you know, oh, someone might not like it. Oh well, how does that even hurt? Like, okay, you don't like it. Oh well, I did it.
Oh, I still did it. There's nothing you can do about that.
Oh well, sorry. And then you just start liking doing stuff that people don't like, and then you're fine.
The one other thing that I guess I just remember when you were talking and I was thinking about other resources is Craigslist, and you'd be surprised if you go on Craigslist and go to the gigs section. There's gigs and there's jobs, and both of those have stuff, but gigs is kind of more of like a freelance one-off thing. And you can go in there and type in whatever it is you're doing. And for writers, graphic design, I mean, you name it. There's all kinds of people looking for all kinds of services. And I was blown up. I had to shut it off. I had to close the browser tab because I was like, oh man, I want to I was like starting to take down phone numbers. I'm like, I can't do this. I don't have time right now, you know?
Right.
But if once I clear a couple things off my
it's
plate,
good to know, that it's out there and a money generator, you know.
it's a real resource for
And that's the other thing, you know, when you do those things, just realize it's all a means to the end of, you know, having your own self-sustained, basically, you know, company.
Job replacement.
Yeah, exactly. Turning your job into your hobby is what.
That's kind of that's the ultimate, and that's what I mean.
So like, and once you get there, like all this stuff in the beginning is just even if you're going on, like you said, you're going on Craigslist just to make the money, but that's just to help get to, you know, where we're going. So you just got to keep it all in mind then.
Right.
You know? It's all for the same thing, even if it doesn't seem like you're working on it, you are. You know what I mean? But you just got to keep doing it.
Right. Keep doing it. So I think we should probably wrap it.
Yeah, I'm good.
What I want to throw in here at the end of the video is that today is Monday, and we do 9 Central, 10 Eastern for about an hour on. It's either we've been doing stuff with Barry and Glenda, who are puppeteers, and kind of been.
They said they'll be back next week, so
that's cool.
I believe that's going to happen.
What I think I'm going to do is either an hour before Barry and Glenda or an hour after Barry and Glenda. I'd like to do some sort of creative process BLAB.
That'd be cool. Maybe we'll try to bring over whoever is left and
something like that. Exactly.
Yeah. Because I mean, that's another funnel thing. Just funneling the one thing into the other, and then get it on YouTube, and hopefully they're telling people. And
yeah,
all right, man. So yeah, let's. We'll talk soon.
Right on. So Thursdays too. I wanted to plug Thursdays because me and Johnny are also going to be doing Thursday nights, probably the same time, 9 Central, 10 Eastern. It'd be cool if we could maybe do it a little earlier, but for right now, let's just say that 9 Central, 10 Eastern. And I think that's probably going to be more like interviewing artists and creative process stuff. So it'll be kind of Johnny probably leading the charge on that, and me sort of running the co-host role and popping in the questions and stuff like that. There are a lot of artists that me and Johnny both know, creative people that I think are really interesting characters, right, Johnny?
Yeah.
So if we bring some of them in and sit them down and ask them the questions that we've come up with, I think it's going to be a really interesting show. So that'll be Thursday nights. So this upcoming Thursday, I'm working on a couple guests right now that might be able to join us. And
Awesome.
I don't know what you have up your sleeve, Johnny, but if you find anybody,
I definitely could scrounge something up. Yeah.
We can do something on Thursday because those questions that I had, I worked on them a little bit more, and I think they're valuable insights from any creative
Awesome.
person.
Yeah. So I'll let you know, and
Cool.
we'll put it out on Twitter or whatever.
All right.
BLAB.
Well, thanks for everybody joining us here. And if you watch us on YouTube, we will see you live on Mondays and Thursday nights here on BLAB. Thank you, everybody.